Stardew Valley.
Indeed is Stardew Valley. Okay. And we're here. We're
I recognize
doing it.
that. We are, apparently.
Only roughly 10 minutes late. We're fine.
One of us is here anyway.
Yeah. Oh, let me retweet this stuff. Yeah. Got some interesting things to talk about that have been building up over the last couple days or so.
Cool.
Retweet.
Yeah, I just did that too.
See if we can steal some audience members from Rick Piper. If he's still going. He said he was going to be on for like 12 hours today or something like that. Or it was 8 hours starting at 12, I forget. But
what is he doing?
Ridiculous amount of time. He's working. He's actually trying to get like stuff done.
Oh.
I saw in the preview he had like the Canadian Shield issue 3 cover and stuff like that. I know he had been working on like a short story for somebody's troll related anthology.
Mm-hmm.
He's being a busy beetle at least. You gotta give him props for that.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, what you got for me?
Okay. Well, the first thing I got is to welcome everyone to the Vomitorium, episode 142. As always, I am your host, The Metal, and joining me is my co-host, Marsupial Gamer. How you doing?
Pretty good.
That's good. That is good.
A little bit late.
So, do you want to start with the big news or some of the funnier stuff?
I guess let's do the big news.
Okay, the big news. Square Enix has just sold off all of the Eidos interactive properties, including Crystal Dynamics and their Montreal studio. So there's actually 3, Eidos proper, Montreal, and Crystal Dynamics, to the Embracer Group. Which...
So that includes Tomb Raider.
Yes, that includes Tomb Raider.
Among other things.
Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, and Legacy of Kain are the 3 biggest series, Thief being the runner-up right there. They're... And all 4 of them, they've already announced they're trying to get the franchises back on the roll. But yeah, they sold to Embracer Group to help fund its blockchain investments. That's what they sold these great properties for. Instead of, trying to cultivate them and actually getting the devs to make good games the way they would want to make them, they're like, no, we're just going to AI and blockchain. That's what we're going to use the money on.
And have you seen the blockchain bubble graph?
No.
How it burst?
I'm not surprised, but I've not.
I can't even believe that they're still pursuing this.
Yeah. Well, it's all lumped together. I think more so the journalists, like the people documenting this, are the ones that are focusing heavily on the blockchain aspect because they see that word and that's like the buzzword right now.
Yeah.
For Square, it's all lumped into blockchain, AI, cloud. Like it's just one of the multiple computing investment areas.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I have not seen about the ooh.
Well, this is NFTs sold daily peaked up above 200,000. Now it's down. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not
between
surprised.
10.
I knew the bubble was going to burst. Like it was
Yeah.
going to happen.
Yep. I still don't understand how these companies are gonna leverage this. I don't know how they incorporate this into games and how that helps.
I have no idea. Like, I have ideas how they could, which we've talked about several times, but the ideas of that we've talked about that they could are definitely not the things these guys are going to do. Because it's never what they're going to do. Like, especially as we move into metaverse stuff, because everybody's going to try to get into more of these, like, virtual meeting spaces, right? There could be uses for non-fungible tokens within a completely digital space, especially because of chain of custody. But, like, aside from that, you're just bogging down your system with things that are unnecessary, because it takes a long time for things to compute across a blockchain.
I mean, it's just like a single private blockchain. It's just,
Well, yeah, it's going to be their chain, obviously, but
I don't know if they can speed that up. I don't know.
maybe, I don't know. I mean, I guess one way to do it is, especially since, like, most machines involved in gaming, like online spaces, MMOs, are virtual, right? Like, the server is a hub, and then there's a bunch of, like, miniature virtual machines to store each individual user account data. If they did something like that to where each machine was a node on the chain, and you never actually had it on your own computer, it was all stored there, then, I mean, you could still use it as some form of, like, chain of custody and stuff and speed it up. I could see ways in which it could work. I just don't see the point. Because at that point, you might as well, it's like, well, we have your user account data already. We don't need to do anything special for this. This just seems like doing what we're already doing with extra steps.
Yeah, like, I've seen people talk about, like, well, you could create objects like, something in game, like a special item that would then be unique that you could carry across to other servers or other games or something like that. And it's just guaranteed unique. And I'm like,
So that would be difficult, though, because that individual thing would have to be programmed into that other game, too. You can't just carry something that doesn't exist into another game.
Yeah. But I mean, I guess the point, I guess, was that it would be unique. And I'm like, but you could do that with a GUID.
Yeah.
Like, just assign a GUID to it. Boom, it's unique.
The only cool thing about these non-fungible tokens are that there is a chain of custody. There's a receipt. You can track it back, right? So, like we said, if, say PewDiePie, who's a really big guy, was playing a game, right, in some metaverse type thing, and he had, like, a refrigerator that he was getting, like, he was selling it, right? And then now on the chain of custody, PewDiePie's name there, so you can track that I got this from PewDiePie, right? It's like the equivalent of an autographed baseball. Yeah. That's the only real use I could see out of it. And like I said, there are other ways of doing it. You don't just need to do it through, like, the NFT blockchain route. It's not necessary.
Yeah. Yeah, so I didn't realize that the whole point of selling this stuff was to fund NFT.
Well, that's what they said. It will help fund. So I think a lot of people are taking the interview a little out of context because, again, games journalism and just journalism in general, we got to find whatever are the buzzwords, the current buzzwords that are going on, right? So they said that the money from it will help fund the or they didn't even use necessarily the word blockchain. They're digital computing investments, which includes blockchain, AI, and cloud. And everybody's jumping on. It's like, oh, they sold it for blockchain.
Digital computing.
It's probably going to do more for AI than anything else. I mean, game companies need AI. Like that's actually something that's necessary, especially if you're doing, like, really complicated boss fights and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, that could be anything. That could be almost anything. Like
anything, really.
That could mean development of their video games. You know,
Yeah.
development of Final Fantasy 16 or 17 or bringing Dragon Quest 10 to the US.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
And also cloud investments are in there, right?
Yeah.
Which they often lump the cloud and the blockchain stuff together, but they're doing a lot with streaming and remote computing for video games where you don't even have to be able to have a powerful enough system to play a game, which it's not good, but if you're going to do it, you might as well invest to try to make it better. There's all kinds of things they could be throwing this money at, and people just keep narrowing their mind on the blockchain section.
Yeah.
But the important part,
well,
is after the sale, the representative did say that they were going to continue the franchises of Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, Thief, and Legacy of Kain, which the last one we haven't heard shit of in like a decade. I think literally the last Legacy of Kain game was like 2011 or 12, and it was a PvP game that didn't do very well, so they stopped making anything in the franchise.
Yeah, and I'm glad that Square Enix, I imagine they own other franchises as well.
Oh, yeah.
Not thinking of off the top of my head, but I would hope that would help them to concentrate on Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest, which are my favorite.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I don't think there's any
do-
problem with the Dragon Quest. They still kind of let the Enix side just manage that all by themselves, and they keep doing it. It's like the only thing that hub does. They don't even do any of the other formerly Enix games anymore.
But are they working on Dragon Quest Builders 3? That's my question.
That is a big question. Well, actually, I have a
hope
weird
so.
question. Now that it's sold, what are they going to change the name of Square Enix's Montreal office? Because clearly it's no longer going to be called Square Enix Montreal.
Yeah.
Right? Which was an office that I forget what its name was before, because Eidos's main office is in Montreal as well. But it used to have a different name, and then when Square bought it, they changed it to Square Enix Montreal because it's just a Montreal home office. So it's just like you can't call it SCM anymore. It's got to be something else. What are they gonna do?
What's the name of the company they sold to?
Embracer Group. They're just gonna call it Embracer Montreal.
Yeah, maybe.
So actually, here's the thing too. Embracer Group really isn't. A lot of people are trying to call it a hedge fund, but it's not. It's not a traditional holdings company like a lot of other video game companies are, like Bandai Namco or Konami. Those are holdings companies traditionally. It is a conglomerate, I think, is probably the best way to say it. Because I went some digging into this the day that the news came off. And it seems to be an organization or like a web of independent investors, right? That are all putting money towards things they like. They seem to be pretty hands-off. Like they're not actually going to interject their opinions into the games. They just care that it's turning a profit. So I mean that's.
So who's in charge?
I actually don't know who the. They do have like a board. Though obviously, like if you're gonna have any group, there has to be people that are pushing the things in directions. I did not look up who like the chairman or like the CEO of the investment group is.
But I mean, like, so is Square Enix Montreal, or whatever they name it, is there a head of that studio?
Oh yeah, well that studio's always had its own head. Like there was an appointment chief of operations at that studio. I'm talking about the Embracer Group as a whole of what it is.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying who's in charge of these IPs
each one of
now?
those studios have had their own like chief operative that was put there. They all have their own little director of the studio.
And do they have, I guess they must be given budgets and
yeah, I'm assuming so.
stuff like that.
They've said about the
I don't know how
four
it
games they're
works.
trying to push, so at least we know there's a directive.
It just doesn't seem like there's a CEO of game development. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of a weird situation.
So these three companies are not going to be a single company anymore, right? Now they're subsidiaries of Embracer Group, but they're not going to be treated in the way that like Square treats all of its subsidiaries, where it's like, yes, you are your group, but you're part of us, so we give you your orders, and sometimes you have to talk between each other. It's going to be, we give you the money to make the franchise that we know you make. You better make it well. You're on your own.
Yeah. So it's kind of it's a group like
it's an investment firm.
Sounds like it's an investment firm like Blackstone or Vanguard or
you
know, all these.
It's just not a centralized investment firm. It's decentralized. It's all private investors that are working towards like shared goals, which means they all get to vote separately on what the directions of the investments go, based on how many shares they have in the investment group.
How do I get them to buy me? Just buy me as a person. $30 million. You got me.
Well, I think they only care if you have like an IP that they want, you know, something that'll return an investment, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've already invested in a VTuber avatar. Believe me, 30 million is going to be a steal for you.
Yeah. So the cool thing about it is that they get to be on their own again, right? So that doesn't give me much hope, though. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
2 of these offices are based in Montreal, which is in France. Which France has been kind of coin flip lately when it comes to whether it's willing to put up with woke shit or not.
Montreal? Isn't that Canada?
There's a Montreal, Canada, and France. The one in Canada is named after the city in France.
Oh, so these are in France?
These were traditionally European companies.
Oh.
Yeah.
I assumed that meant they were in Quebec, Canada.
Maybe I know it started in Europe, but yeah, not that it's much better.
Square Enix Montreal. Square Enix. Yes, it's in Montreal, Canada.
It's in the Canadian branch. Okay. Well, I know Eidos was originally a European country. Okay. A European company.
Yeah.
There is in Montreal, France, which is what the city in Canada is named after.
No, okay. GMT says France probably has nicer food. Yeah.
It's in Aude, right?
Mm-hmm. You're right. Parent organization, Square Enix Europe.
Yeah.
Interesting.
This is also the confusing part, because the fact that there's 2 main Montreals, there are game studios in Montreal, France, and game studios in Montreal, Canada, from different things, right? Like, the thing that always confused me, there's a BioWare Montreal, and there's a WB Montreal, and sometimes when you put Montreal, they're talking about Canada, and sometimes they're talking about France. I don't know why.
And weirdly enough, Square Enix Europe is based in London.
Yeah.
So their subsidiary, a company in Canada, a subsidiary.
Eidos was originally in London. That's where it was. They probably, when they bought the first time, they just took over the original home office.
Yeah. Now Eidos Montreal is in Montreal, Canada. So they must have brought it all over to Canada.
Yeah, I'm guessing. But still, that's actually even worse, right? Because Canada has been France has been a coin flip when it comes to the woke shit. Canada is worse than a coin flip. It weighted on one side.
Yeah. I was gonna say, what's that company? What's the biggest game company in France?
Ubisoft.
Ubisoft, yeah, that's the one. Yeah, they're terrible. They're absolutely terrible. Of course, they have a branch, I think, in Canada too. I don't know.
Maybe, I don't know.
I feel like it was their Canadian branch that got caught doing all kinds of woke training shit that was terrible. But I don't know. You doing all right?
Yeah. Sorry, somebody just walked in and
Okay.
I had to mute because they just opened the door. Um, yeah, you know what's funny too? Do you know where Ubisoft's home office is in France?
Where?
Not Montreal, but a city that sounds almost the same, which
Okay.
is Montreal.
Okay. Montreal.
Yeah.
Apparently, GMT has been to York,
York.
but not
Oh,
to
cool.
New York.
It's Montreal is just outside of Paris.
Mhm.
Fucking French
Okay.
people. Yeah. But no. So like, if it's Canada, that is even worse. Like, God, dear God. Because people are like, oh,
Yeah.
Square's diversity office or whatever they call it now. They actually have like a board just for that type of stuff. Isn't going to be on them. It's like, what companies do you think they made that board for? It's not like it's affecting the shit in Japan.
Yeah.
Right? It's like these guys
Well-
don't need Square to be acting that way.
Yeah. Well, here's the question that we probably don't know the answer to:
Yeah.
is what's the makeup of the Embracer group? Because
Yeah.
they could sweep in like a fucking Elon Musk and be like, enough of this bullshit. We're here to make fucking money. Get rid of all this woke crap.
Yeah. Well, what they'll probably do, based on the nature of the group, right? Because it is
Or they
mostly
could
just
be-
investment, is their first investment will probably be a leap of faith, right? Like, make the game, see how it turns out. After that, depending on how it goes, they might start imposing certain directives and restrictions to make sure that their investment comes out well,
Yeah.
Because if they are hands off at first, as far as they could end up with a bombshell,
Mm-hmm.
Or it could end up in a Sonic the
I
movie
imagine-
situation where we'll see how they react after a trailer, and if the public backlash is too much, they might make them change things based on that.
Yeah, I imagine. I mean, don't you think that they're working on something already?
Oh, no, yeah. Well, they already said which 4 games they're doing. So I'm sure they've
Yeah.
already started at least in the planning phase, if not like early development.
But I mean, don't you think Square Enix Montreal was like, surely they are in the middle of a project already? Maybe.
So here's the thing. One of the reasons I think they sold this stuff off, which there is a separate article just for talking about like an interview where why they did the sell. I'm not sure I quite believe the article, but one of the reasons they sold it off is definitely because the Marvel games did not do well. Right? Crystal Dynamics being the one in charge of the Avengers game. A lot of the Eidos stuff is the one that we're doing the other tie-in stuff, where there was a deal with Disney Marvel to make like 6 games related to the MCU. And basically none of them did well. Even the ones that people praised, like the Guardians of the Galaxy, none of them performed well. The Avengers game, which was done as a service, probably the dumbest way they could have done that game, but they did it as a service, did very well in like the first month and then did extremely poorly, only going downhill after that. Especially, they stopped caring about making the game well. They just kept putting in more nickel and diming of people while letting the mechanics and the code compile on top. And there's just like errors everywhere. Collision errors, clipping errors, just all kinds of shit happening in the game. It's basically unplayable.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they actually were working on anything, if they were in the middle of a project or not. Especially since one of them is supposed to be maintaining a game, right? So that could have been most of their job at that point, was just game maintenance. Who knows? And if they were in a project, maybe it got canceled if it was something related to the license, because the Disney Marvel license is in a gray area since that deal was signed with Square Enix.
Mm-hmm. Could be. There's 170 employees at Squem, or whatever you call it, SEM. They must be doing something.
Yeah.
Right. It could be maintenance.
Yeah, I mean, because they were always one of the things they had to do to maintain the game, which when you run a game as a service in the modern day, it's a little bit more than maintaining an MMO after it's done, right? Like, typically you're not adding assets to an MMO. You're just going there, maybe bug fixing occasionally, resetting the server so the cache clears off, basic stuff like that. In this case, you kind of have to constantly be adding events, adding new skins and stuff, because that's what you make money off of. So there are people who are constantly actually even just making things all the time.
Yeah. I guess that's what they could be doing. Well, interesting. It's interesting. We've got some companies that are consolidating and others that are breaking up.
There is actually one confirmed thing Crystal Dynamics was working on. I don't know about Montreal, but there was one Crystal Dynamics. Apparently, they are still going to be co-developing Perfect Dark, the reboot, even after the acquisition. So they must have been pretty far into it if that's the case.
Mm-hmm. And I can't imagine having a game development studio with 170 people.
Oh, yeah.
Like, good Lord.
The thing is, that's not even...
It's
not big compared to some of the other studios, though, which is even scarier when you think about, like, there are some games where there are, like, 300 to 400 people working on that game.
It seems excessive.
Ridiculous. It is, yeah, because, half the people in the art department are just crunching out textures, because textures are most of what makes a game look good, between, like, texture mapping. And we've automated things like ray tracing now. It's not even somebody has to do that much for lighting, right? It's all basically just making the textures look good.
Yeah. I guess there's some 3D modeling to do.
Yeah.
But
animating.
I can't imagine you could have that many like actual programmers, because it's like, how do you split up the work amongst 100 different programmers? It's like,
it's like what you do is there's like a lead programmer, right?
Yeah,
obviously, but then you take like the base code for the game. You make like a level, right? Mm-hmm. And then you're like, okay, now make every single level work like this, right? So then they're basically just going in and remaking the code detailed for each level, and you're just splitting levels by group and then compile them. It's not even that efficient of a way to do it, though.
Yeah. I was just thinking of like things like physics and AI programmers.
Yeah,
things like
because
that.
you only need to do that once. How many do you
need? Yeah. And how many do you need before you're stepping on each other's toes and stuff? It's like, okay.
I think that's actually a major problem with a lot of modern games, is that there's too many cooks, right? So there's somebody who's working on, say, physics, right? You might have 5 people in a department working on physics together at like like an office, right? Everybody's got their desks and they're talking to each other and stuff like that, whatever. But then after that's done, if you send that out to a bunch of different people to apply it, now you've got different people tweaking things in different ways without talking to each other. And this is like the common phrase now, spaghetti code, where you have a bunch of like redundant code going on in games. And then because you don't know how redundant code's going to interact, you start getting these very weird interactions in specific places, like in Elden Ring, where there's a wall that for some reason has the frickin' molten touch on it and it shouldn't.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm thinking like Breath of the Wild, where they had layer upon layer of physics engines interacting with each other. I imagine they had a small, very tight-knit group working together on all that.
You would hope,
By small, I mean like maybe a dozen.
Yeah, Nintendo is very efficient when compared to like these other AAA companies too. So I would imagine that was probably the case.
Yeah. You can't have 100 people working on physics, because they'd all just like screw each other up. GMT said she's a fantastic 1D modeler. By the way.
It's just putting dots places.
Yeah, pointillism. I forgot what I was going to say about that, but at any rate, yeah.
I'm sure that's even part of the problem with the Avengers game, with all of the clipping and errors and stuff like that, and the collision errors, right? Because collision is one of the most fundamental parts of 3D physics when it comes to games. And if you're having a bunch of collision errors, it's probably a physics problem.
Yeah.
Clipping, that's a modeling problem, but like collision, that's probably physics.
Yeah. It kind of makes me wonder what the issue was with like Cyberpunk 2077. Did they have too many people working on it? Too few? I don't know.
Well, I think it's an issue of too many cooks in the same kitchen where they all have to share the same very short egg timer, right? So it's like, okay, here's the egg timer. Everybody get your stuff done by the time this timer runs out.
Yeah.
That's the problem with crunch, you know, like, yeah, I mean, there's general health problems with crunch, like, altogether. You can opt into it so many times, but even if you're opting into it, you eventually end up like Sakurai in the hospital after Smash 4 because he spent too much work hours on it. But then there's also the problem of if you're trying to get too much done with too many people, there isn't even enough time for people to vocalize things to each other, to even like grammar check each other and stuff like that, to make sure that you're not running over the same problems and stuff. And it's like, well, okay, well, it's done. And that's the issue. Trying to keep the dev cycle still 2 years. Because that's been the average dev cycle for a game, which Square obviously hasn't been meeting in the last decade. But the expected dev cycle for a game has been 2 years for the longest time. And they're like, if you want to make a better game, instead of extending the development cycle, we just put more people on development and throw more money at it. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why I think games are getting more expensive, but we're not actually seeing better games.
Right. Well, you know, we talked about how certain sort of lead developers or groups end up kind of making games the same way and end up with sort of similar outcomes. Yeah. And so, you know, when a group, and GMT brings up a good point that Witcher 3 wasn't that great, you know, straight away, and that it took several revisions, patches, or whatever to get it right. You know, a company like that, you kind of wonder, well, it sounds like they need a shakeup, you know. They need someone to come in here and say, okay, something's not working here. We need to figure out what it is, and we need to get in better people or different people or whatever.
No, I agree.
So,
especially like think how more efficient is, because I would imagine if you had a smaller group that knew what they were doing, that were really dedicated to it, and you just allowed for more time, it's like, yes, you are effectively, you're paying their salary or whatever they need to make for living over that longer time, but those people are more effective than a bunch of chimps eventually churning out Shakespeare and typewriters, right? So you'd probably be saving money over that longer period than just getting 5 times as many devs into a place over the shorter period, because then you have to pay all of those devs' salary.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if it's necessarily not always better to just get more people.
Right. They're just trying to they want to hit quarterly sales. They need a big game every single quarter. And because they know the launch window, it's the only thing that matters. Even in the modern cycle where like people will they patch things to make a game better over time, all it matters is that they get your interest enough that you buy it within the first month.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look at the World of Warcraft patch release, or, you know.
Yeah.
Do they call them patches or whatever?
Yeah, they're patches, you know. Or are you talking about the expansion release?
Expansion, yeah.
Yeah.
Expansion releases.
Patches are
they're
what you
all-
get in between expansions.
Yeah. You can tell that they're like, okay, the next expansion, we got to do the next expansion because that's when they get the bump in
Because each expansion is like
numbers.
putting out a new game. So, and it used to
Yeah.
be about every 2 years, which is about the average development cycle.
Yeah, but then between expansions they have individual like dot patches that add
with
another
like
raid.
small content bits and stuff like that here.
Yeah,
and there,
yeah, content. Yeah.
14 does the same thing for
patches.
Final Fantasy. And I think actually WoW is really the one that kind of turned that into the MMO cycle, because 11 did have a lot of updates, but it was pretty much only the expansion updates until around 2013, where they added a bunch of stuff to make it more like a modern MMO. Until then, a lot of the game was they made the whole world or area for you to explore, and you just did all the content that was in there. There wasn't a lot of like content added per patch in that game. So WoW, I think, was really the game that did that before any other. They needed to. They needed to hook you. They understood. They understood how players, like specifically the type of players they were getting, right? They were getting content players. They weren't like Final Fantasy XI, which were getting people who like grinding because they came from playing old Final Fantasy games, just liked exploring the world and stuff. You got a few of those in World of Warcraft, don't get me wrong. But most of the people they hooked were the people that were there for both the social and content aspect. And to be able to keep people paying for those subscriptions every single month, they had to make sure that you still had content to play. And they did that successfully for years, though. Like I can't fault them. It wasn't until maybe within this last decade, closer to the last half, but you could go back almost a full decade, that they started dropping the ball on providing content for people. Speaking of, we did actually get updates on that Warcraft mobile that we were talking about, and boy, is it even more depressing. Have you saw it?
A little bit. I mean,
Warcraft
it's a completely different.
Arc-Light
It's a
Rumble.
mobile game.
Yeah, it's a tower defense. That's all it is. It's just a tower defense.
Yeah, it's a mobile game with a Warcraft skin.
Yeah. Specifically in the WoW universe is how they're marketing it, because I think a lot of modern people forget that there was a Warcraft before there was a World of Warcraft.
This article says Blizzard's new mobile game announcement didn't piss everyone off this time.
No, it's just
mean,
disappointing.
Yeah, it was just like, oh, okay, well, it's a game I will never play. Yeah, okay, great.
Yeah. I think the only way that you could probably get most people to play this at this point is if you were to sync your Blizzard account, right, your Battle.net, and then have rewards in World of Warcraft from playing the game, and then you'll get all the people who are still playing WoW to try to get those rewards.
Yeah. Here, I'm going to share the intro
It looks
or whatever.
very different. And maybe, I actually haven't played WoW in quite a while. So I don't think they've updated the graphics of this, but it reminds me more of like a MOBA game, like a League of Legends or something like that, which is funny because before League changed its designs, it used to look like Warcraft since they came from Warcraft 3 mod. There's kind of like a weird roundabout thing going on there.
Is it not showing up very well on the screen?
It's a little choppy, but I think that's just my end.
Okay. I'll slow it down just a bit. Yeah, so it's like characters from Warcraft, but it's just a mobile game. So yeah. I think everyone's just like, oh, okay, meh.
The thing is, I don't want to play a mobile game like this, but those would be cool figures. Like, I would collect toys of that if I saw that in the toy aisle at Target or something.
Yeah, like amiibos.
Make like a little Warcraft diorama of two armies going at it.
It's almost like they're taking the Tiny Tina's Wonderland or whatever it's called. Kind of tack because it looks like they're playing like a board game almost.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely still going towards the roots of Warcraft, because Warcraft and StarCraft, both of them, you can really tell, and I think I even remember reading an interview about this a long time back with the old Blizzard, is that they wanted to make a Warhammer game. So they started making it, but they never got the license to Warhammer. Yeah. And that's why, aesthetically, Warcraft and StarCraft look a lot like Warhammer. Both the 40K and the old fantasy version of it, too. And they play like it, too. It's almost like moving the units across the board. In fact, a lot of our RTS stuff, like the strategy ones where you move whole armies, kind of come from how Warhammer 40K plays.
Yeah. Well, it almost looks like Clash of Clans.
Yeah, it's a little. It's a little RTS-y, a little tower defense. To be fair, though, like, Warcraft was kind of a tower defense. It makes sense, like, where things like MOBAs come from, because you were having to defend your camp while also attacking their camp, right? Building up units, sending them over. So, I mean, that's tower defense is just the most stationary version of it, where here's the lane, build your units in the spot to stop the other team from coming.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Oh, I see.
It's kind of got that aspect.
Tower. Yeah.
I actually used to play a tower defense in Warcraft 3 all the time. There's this really popular one. I don't think it was a custom. I think it was actually made by one of the developers. But it's called Skibby's Tower Defense. And it was hard as fuck.
Well, there was a Plants vs. Zombies in World of Warcraft. I wonder if that's still there.
God, I'm not sure if I've ever actually beat Skibby's Tower Defense with a team. I've beaten it solo. But that's one of those things that it gets harder, actually, the more people you put in, because they scale up the enemies to the number of players on a team. And at a certain point, like, the hardest you can do is try to beat Skibbies with 5 people, because they send more enemies than your actual conjoined group can handle, and you have to be like hyper strategic together. You can't fuck up at all.
I get the feeling that woman is the target audience right there.
I do too.
I just get that feeling. And probably not even that guy.
No.
I cannot see him playing this very often.
Maybe. So there's like 2 types of people that really play these type of games, right? You have your casual kind of like mom gamer wine aunt type person, right?
Yeah.
That's the best way to describe the Farmville player. But then the other type are the really kind of like autistic, I have to turn everything into competitive gamer. And they just min-max the shit out of the game, and they're at the top of the leaderboards. And there's always like at least 5 of them in every server.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. My son used to play Clash of Clans, and he was it sort of appealed to him in that way.
Yeah.
But the thing is, he's not autistic at all.
I wasn't saying that the people are actually autistic. I was using that as an insult.
But I'm just saying he kind of lost interest in it because it was just like, because I think the people that he played with were kind of like that and probably were somewhat
They
autistic.
actually probably were, yeah.
And so he just kind of was like, I don't want to put this much time into this game. It's just like, it's fun, but I guess,
Yeah, at least some of them. I don't actually think most of the people at the top of leaderboards have autism, but I do think up to a certain extent, especially in things that are number crunching and just dedicating hours grinding, that it can definitely help. And you're going to see a lot of people that have autism in those places.
I'm gonna stop sharing because they're just talking about it.
Yeah. I didn't even plan on talking about it that long. I just wanted to update it on our last story, but it's kind of sad.
Yeah. They did not say, "Do you not have phones?" This GMT brings up.
Yeah.
I don't think they did.
Let's see. What else did I have? Oh, yeah. Since we're on the topic of Activision, right? They're now being sued by New York City for rushing to sell their company to Microsoft in the funniest turn of events, because they're blaming their accusation is that the former CEO, Bobby Kotick, of course, everything's going to come back to him, is actually selling to escape liability for egregious breaches of fiduciary duty. Specifically, it's by the city employees' retirement system that's filing suit against him.
Is that what's based in New York? I was like, how does New York factor in?
No. Bobby's based in New York. I don't know why. Well, I mean, I guess CEOs tend to move from company to company, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times they're not founders or anything. They're somebody who was hired by the board to see to the company's interests for some period of time. Yeah. So a CEO...
I need to mute for a second. So
yeah.
I'll be here.
Yeah, so like a CEO doesn't necessarily have to have his home in the area of the business that he's working for. Maybe he'll have like a temporary home or a residence near there while he's working. But like if you already own a home, you're not going to change your main residence just to move across the country for a position like that, especially if you're somebody who's got enough money you can fly back and forth. And so he was probably still centrally located in New York City the entire time.
Yeah. It's weird though that so has he been managing the company from New York the whole time?
No, I mean he probably had a temporary home in I think they were Silicon Valley. That's like outside of LA. You died.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah. I was saying because Blizzard
turned
was
on
in
the video
Silicon
and
Valley.
Yeah. Discord just decided to crash.
I always forget. Is it in the LA or Bay Area?
If it's Silicon Valley, that would be the Bay Area.
Okay. I was thinking it was more south, but yeah. So he probably had a temporary home near the Bay Area. A lot of people that are in that type of position where they're the CEO of a major company will have like a home near where they work because there's no reason to relocate your main home.
Yeah, I guess. It's just weird that New York would sue.
Yeah.
Like what? Oh, yeah. I'm wrong.
What?
Blizzard is in Irvine, California, which
Irvine.
is
I thought they were Silicon.
Near
Okay.
Apparently not. That's near Los Angeles. Although I remember they had a Blizzard North studio. Is that still around?
They do. I believe Blizzard North was in Washington, though, right?
Oh, I didn't realize it was that far north.
It may be. It's at least, obviously, I don't think it's any south of Sacramento, but I thought it was higher. Where's Blizzard North?
San Mateo.
Oh, San Mateo.
So yeah, Blizzard North is the one near San Francisco.
That's not
proper.
that north,
Where's San Mateo?
that's not.
That's
I mean,
Silicon Valley, right?
No. San Mateo. I think it's north of Sacramento. It's actually in like the.
Yeah.
No, it's south of that. It is near. What? That's actually really south. Why would you call that north? I guess just because it's north of L.A.
No, well, San Mateo is between San Jose and San Francisco.
Yeah, but that's still not north. That's like Central California.
No,
I've got a map up. That's ridiculous.
that's as north as San Francisco is.
Yeah, and San Francisco is not north.
Well, but they call it that.
Yeah.
They call San Francisco Northern California, because it's
like
the northernmost.
California.
Yeah, but it's the northernmost big city. Well, except for Sacramento, but
yeah. When I think of North California, I think of Sacramento and northern. Like that to me, that's like the cutoff is that area. Yeah.
Whatever. But anyway, yeah, Blizzard proper is close to Los Angeles, which is weird because most of these companies are closer to the Bay Area.
Yeah. Well, I know it's like there's a squeeze, right? There's a bunch of tech companies, period, between like San Francisco and LA. There's like several different areas that it just kind of fills in.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's what, like I think a 3-hour drive when traffic's light. You could easily get from place to place.
But most of the big tech companies are either in Palo Alto, Mountain View, San Jose, Cupertino. Those are all.
Well, for now.
Near San Francisco.
Soon they're all going to be. Soon they're all going to be in Austin and San Antonio.
I'm going to read this. GMT says, Blizzard should merge with the people who make Magic the Gathering. They could be called Blizzards of the Coast.
Yeah, well,
Brilliant.
Late for that.
GMT. Now, Wizards of the Coast. That's in Washington, right?
Yes. They were pretty high up. I know that. At least at one point. I don't know if they've moved. But that's where Wizard of the Coast used to do a lot of magazine publications too. Even Nintendo Power, during like the last 5 or 6 years of its run, was printed by Wizard. And all of my magazines were still coming up for the different things I was getting from that area. I don't know if they've relocated since.
Yeah. I don't think so. Not as far as I know. So yeah, I guess it's kind of weird. Like, does this sale somehow indemnify? I mean, I guess the question is Bobby Kotick under criminal indictment or any kind of civil? I mean, I don't even know. I don't know.
It's again, there's some breaches of fiduciary duty, and it's involving the city employees' retirement system.
Yeah. But does the sale to Microsoft, they're saying that somehow is protecting Kotick, and that's why they're trying to stop it. Because
yes.
Like, well, okay, but why don't they just sue Kotick?
Well, they disagree with the allegations as well made from this complaint. Personally, I think there are some people that were trying to stop this sale in general.
Yeah.
Very oddly too, like there were like Congress people trying to stop the sale.
Okay.
I don't know why it had anything to do with them, but they were petitioning. I get Pelosi because that's her district is that general area. So like I get her involvement in it, but a bunch of the other people weren't even Californian. And I'm thinking some people are just looking for loopholes, and that's one that they found with the Delaware's Court of Chancery. in New York City.
Mm.
It's very weird.
Sorry, I was reading some other headlines.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I guess we'll keep up with that and see what
I
happens.
just felt it was necessary to bring it up because we've been talking a lot about this whole. Well, we've been following a lot of just the Activision Blizzard mess for a while, and then they got picked up by Microsoft, and we've just kind of been on a whole journey up to this point.
Mm-hmm. Yes, GMT is our local joke synthesizer and time zone hater.
Let's see. What's
Well,
the topic? We're changing.
I was just gonna mention that Genshin Impact is the latest update has been delayed by new COVID shutdowns in Shanghai. Apparently, indefinitely delayed. Not that anyone
I would
cares.
say that's a shame, but it's not. Well, shutdowns in general are a shame. The fact that Genshin's being delayed, I don't care.
Yeah. Asmongold the other day was saying he considers World of Warcraft at this point to be play to win or pay to win. Basically.
For a while.
Yeah. But he really blames Genshin Impact as sort of accelerating because it just its success in the pay to win sort of genre, he thinks has accelerated that trend in other games.
I'm going to counter that I think it's WoW's fault that Genshin is the way it is. Through a chain, I don't think directly WoW did Genshin. I think it goes back to WoW was so successful and had already been kind of going pay to win for quite some time, and a lot of people didn't realize this. Ever since they introduced the market board in the first place, kind of started heading that direction. But WoW was so successful that it made a lot of people try to compete against it. And one of the way that a lot of MMOs tried to compete against it, where they started basically doing service models where you could play the game for free, but we're going to offer you a lot of in-game stuff that you can pay for to kind of supplement that. And those service models started out as aesthetics only, but then they quickly went into, well, you can buy better gear. And that is kind of the start of even the current mobile service model that we're used to, are these free MMOs that were competing against WoW because it was the only way to get people to play them. So it indirectly, this is kind of all WoW's fault for kind of going pay to win to begin with at a lighter level, but then creating competition that forced both of them to go in this direction.
Yeah.
But overall, it's a market problem. I wouldn't even blame them directly. It's a market problem. I can just root it to WoW.
Yeah, as long as it's successful, people will keep doing it. Or unless Congress steps in and makes it illegal or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Like they try to do with loot boxes.
Yeah, well, I mean, in Europe and stuff like that, they've really cracked down on that stuff. So they really consider it gambling.
Yeah, there are good ways of doing loot boxes and there are bad ways.
Yeah.
And most people prefer the bad ways because those are the ones that get you the most money.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, that's all I've got to say about that.
Yeah, dude, I haven't even touched Genshin I actually have it installed on my hard drive too.
Yeah.
And I just have not touched it.
I think I do
sitting there
too.
wasting away.
Yeah.
Let's see, interesting things. There's a new Pokemon cookbook called My Pokemon Cookbook. Delicious recipes inspired by Pikachu and friends. And it's cool. It's obviously using real world ingredients, but everything's inspired by Pokemon. And it leads you down this dark path that I've always thought about, but a lot of people try not to. That in the Pokemon world, what do they eat?
Right, exactly.
There are no normal animals. Everything's a Pokemon.
Yeah, what is a hamburger? If not,
Yeah. Also, where do humans come from?
what?
In the Pokemon world, where do humans come from?
Like, where did they evolve from?
Yes, there are just Pokemon, and then there are humans. Where do humans come from?
Yeah, they're Pokemon too.
But they're
presumably.
not. You can't catch a human. Humans don't evolve, or anything like that. Like, where do they come from? Did humans as a group get isekai'd into the Pokemon world? Like, just like a tribe of humans, and they just started expanding from there? Was there some weird temporal distortion that happened? I really need to know the actual, like, genesis of the Pokemon world. We know that Arceus was involved with the creation of Pokemon. Yeah. But you don't see other animals outside of, like, in the anime first season, they would draw like random birds and fish in the distance. But as it progressed, they would just detail it was like, oh, they're all just, they were Pokemon that were there the whole time. Goldeen, Spearow, stuff like that.
Eagle and Sketchbook are suggesting some very odd burgers, but I'm like, the obvious one is Miltank, right? I mean,
no. Tauros is the obvious one from the bull.
Well,
because the milk tank's still producing milk.
I guess.
You do that because you don't want too many bulls, right? So what you do is you'll castrate them, you'll get your steer, right? And then once the meat is nice and firm, you'll just slaughter them. And you'll keep the bull that actually is going to breed, the one with the best genes. Yeah, no, you'd get a Tauros burger.
I guess yeah, but you'd probably get a Tauros burger at Peter Fleming's.
Yeah. I mean, some milk tank
Tauros burger
would eventually be meat as well, but no, while they're still producing milk.
I don't know about Eevees, unless you could evolve them into a cow
maybe
type.
If you go to the equivalent of China in the Pokemon world, because Eevees are just little dogs.
No. So yeah, maybe humans are a product of I don't know what you call it.
Interspatial travel.
Well, I was going to say like immaculate conception or something.
Maybe,
what do they call it? Intelligent design.
Yeah. Because there is one part where they do talk about Arceus possibly making humans too. It's very loosely implied. It's not said verbatim. But if that is the case, then it probably is intelligent design. And that humans and Pokemon were made separately in the way that people used to think that humans and animals were made separately.
So where are you seeing? Because I'm seeing a Pokemon cookbook from 2016.
Is it?
This is a new one?
Mine, I just saw it in the news. If it's been around for a while.
I feel like I saw it in the news as well recently.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a new one. What's it called? The Pokemon Cookbook?
My Pokemon Cookbook, delicious recipes inspired by Pikachu and friends. If that's an old one, then maybe people are just only now finding out about it. It's made available for pre-order over on Amazon just yesterday, May 3rd, is what the article's talking about.
Oh, here we go. My Pokemon Cookbook. Yeah, there was another one. Apparently, there was another one. But this one is new.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it doesn't come out until October. I want to see what the recipes are. Ooh. Charizard on
yeah.
What is that? Some sort of pasta?
That's
a Gengar soup?
Definitely the Pokemon I want to eat is a Charizard.
Oh, it's a Gengar yogurt bowl. So you have to mash them up into a paste, I guess.
How do you eat a ghost?
Well, I don't know. You need a Gengar masher.
Now, for alligator, I'd eat it for alligator. Gator's pretty good. I don't know about Charizard. Maybe. I don't know. It's big enough. Maybe those thighs have some pretty good meat in it.
Oh no, a shuckle smoothie.
Ugh. Shuckle's like oral. It's like a polyp.
Wait, shuckle? Shuckle's like a turtle.
Well, it's like it's like a worm or type thingy. It's got like legs and stuff, but it's inside like a round shell. I always thought it was like a coral.
Yeah. I thought it was like a turtle.
Yeah. That's I think a rock Pokemon, so yeah, it could be.
There's some sort of sea king drink.
There's a good question. If you eat a Bulbasaur, is that a side salad? If you eat a plant Pokemon, because these things are definitely sentient. Some of them might be sapient, but I think most Pokemon don't actually talk, so they're definitely sentient. Is eating a Pokemon that is made of plant carnivorous, or would it be a vegetarian meal?
That's a good question. Yeah, what is a Bulbasaur? Is it an animal or is it a plant? I know it's a plant
It's kind
type.
of both. It's like a frog with a like a cabbage on its back or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Now Charizard
It's a lizard.
looks like
Looks like a dragon, but he's a lizard.
yeah, but I'm talking about the meal.
Oh.
It looks like just spaghetti and meat sauce.
Yeah. Hey,
Is it spicy?
Spaghetti and meatballs.
The Gengar.
If you made spaghetti and meatballs out of Charizard, would they be great balls of fire?
Yeah, I guess so.
I
Recipes.
I want to eat a Pokemon. I'll be honest. I kind of
You
want
wanna
to
eat
know I want to know what one tastes like.
Yeah, I want to eat some Squirtle soup and
It's like I remember I think the last white rhino or something like that went extinct not too long ago, or it was some off breed of rhino went extinct like a few years back, right? Yeah, because there's a bunch of types of rhino. It was like maybe it was a black rhino or something, but it was like some smaller endangered breed was going extinct, and I was like so mad. I was like, man, why couldn't we cultivate this? I kind of want to know what it tastes like. There's my problem with endangered species. It's like I would love to know what some of these things taste like, but they're endangered, so I can't.
Well, did you see what was the name of that movie? Was it The Graduate or The Freshman or something? It was with oh shoot,
It might have been the black-horned rhino.
not The Graduate. Yeah, The Freshman. Did you ever see the movie The Freshman?
I don't think so.
With Marlon Brando and Matthew Broderick?
No, but I like both of those actors.
Yeah, it's a comedy, but the gist of it is that Marlon Brando runs this underground society that eats the last of a species. So they have these dinners, like I guess once a month or whatever, that they hold in a super secret location, and they bring in the very last of a endangered species and supposedly cook it and eat it. But of course, there's a twist because it is a comedy. So highly recommend The Freshman. It's really good.
Well, one of the issues, which has actually kind of been somewhat resolved, because we've extended our lifespan by so much, but there are certain animals that just aren't domesticatable. Because to domesticate an animal, it's kind of fit like two features. One, three almost. The last one up for debate, but one feature, it has to be a herd animal to domesticate it, right? It's got to be able to live within social groups for you to be able to actually wrangle it in. So like dogs work well, cows worked well, things like that. Two, the lifespan of the thing domesticating it has to be longer than the thing that you're domesticating by a substantial amount. That's why humans are able to domesticate dogs, because we have like, even traditionally when a life expectancy was like around the mid 30s for average, that still puts us at like twice the lifespan of even the longest living dog. Cows, same, they breed really fast, but it's not just life expectancy, it's breeding cycle, right? Like they have to have really quick breeding cycles to where like a cow can start breeding after like a year and a half. Like you can already just start doing things with that cow. It's easy. Some even earlier depending on the breed. Rhinos, impossible to domesticate. They have fairly long lifespan when they're actually taken care of. And they have very long gestation periods with gaps in between, which is one of the reasons why it was so easy to drive them towards extinction for different ones, due to, they wanted the horn material. But it's like they take too long to replace themselves, and they take so much food to replace themselves too, because they're big, massive creatures. So it's kind of a shame that some of these things that you'd think, oh, why can't like some rich guy who wants to make money off of their meat or whatever just come and start domesticating these animals, right? Just save the population by turning them into livestock. But like, one, that's a process that would take a long time, even if we could cut it down due to modern technology. So instead of taking like thousands of years to domesticate something over time, it could just take like maybe a couple generations or so. Like we can. There's some things that just aren't domesticatable.
Yeah.
And it's sad. I'll never get to taste that rhino.
Well, maybe there's a recipe in here for a rye horn.
Yeah. The third possible thing that is, which always the case for us, the thing you're trying to domesticate has to be dumber than you. I don't know if that's entirely true. I think you probably at least be even with you. It definitely can't be smarter, but I don't know if that's actually that hard of a stipulation.
Yeah.
I'll put a greater than or equal sign next to it. Combination. Question mark.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what we got. I've got a few things that are funny. Would you got anything?
I mean, I have some exciting personal news, potentially. The titanium mobile development engine or platform, which was announced to be, which is the platform that I'm most familiar with in terms of developing mobile apps.
Yeah, we've talked about this.
It was announced last year to be discontinued by the company that owns it, Axway, and so that was kind of depressing, but it felt like it was going in that direction for a while. Well, they've been sold, or titanium has been sold to a company in Alabama called TiDev, and it's a nonprofit group that has been basically using it, to develop with, as well as I think they do training. Yeah. And for a while they were putting on conferences and stuff like that. But they are going to continue development.
That's cool.
So it is not dead after all. And I even got in touch because I found out they announced this last week or earlier this week or something like that. And when I found out that the company's in Alabama, I contacted the chair of the board chairman, and we're gonna have lunch at some point because their headquarters is like 30 minutes away from here, from Birmingham, and he was super excited. I contacted him and he was like, "Oh my God, there's a titanium developer in Alabama! Holy crap!" He's like, "I had no idea." I guess we're few and far between. And he's like, "Oh my gosh, we got so many projects, and we're talking to Mercedes about doing a project for the panels, the screens in their
all the dashboard stuff.
Cars, the dashboard stuff." Yeah. He's like, "Yes, let's get together. Let me put you in our Slack channel and do this and that. So give me your email address. What are you doing?"
That is pretty cool.
So yeah. Yeah, yeah. And I told him all about so I acquired the Platino game engine in 2016 that sits on top of Titanium and lets you build games with this mobile development platform. Of course, it's so out of date. If we wanted to update it, we'd basically have to start over from scratch. But I told him about that, and he was like, okay, well, we can talk about that. I told him, well, if we wanted to continue development with that, we'd need a hell of a lot of funding. But
Yeah,
I don't know if he's interested in helping with that. But that's all right. It's exciting that the mobile development platform that I actually know and have used, to great effect, is alive and well and headquartered in Alabama all of a sudden.
yeah. No, that's really cool. Yeah.
Because Accelerator, the original company that owned it, was in Silicon Valley. And I think Axway, which bought it in 2017, 18, something like that, I think they're in Arizona. But yeah. So it's a weird thing that just especially because I had like an hours long conversation with a guy last night. And I was like, holy crap, maybe the simulation is real. Maybe, maybe someone's pulling the strings here, because it's so weird that I happen to live 30 minutes away from the headquarters. It's so weird.
Yeah. No, that's really, really cool.
Yeah, yeah.
You don't really get experiences like that every day.
Maybe I'll be writing software for Mercedes dashboards or something. Maybe. I don't know.
But definitely,
I'm not quitting my job just yet.
No. We'll need a follow-up sometime in the future.
Yeah. Once I have the meeting with him and I find out more, I'll let y'all know.
Cool.
I think somebody wants to talk about Bungie and Destiny, or I assume that's what he's talking about.
I don't know. I know Bungie was in the news recently for something. I forget. Was it anything to do with Destiny or?
No, it was that Bungie Studios basically just said, we are super uber political and
yeah, I remember that.
We love Roe v. Wade and all that shit.
And it's like, I don't know. I don't think business accounts should be posting shit like that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't care if any of the people who worked at Bungie posted shit like that. That's their own personal thing. I don't care. I mean, we've been through the whole like Gamergate, Comicsgate shit, and to a degree, it's like you can have your opinion as long as you're just not like seeking down people to shit on them. But like, I really don't care people's personal opinions for their business. It's not my concern. But a business
I don't understand.
That's just like driving away customers.
I don't understand a company being like, we're going to take a political stand on X.
Yeah.
Like, what does that have to do with what you do, what your business is? That's just dumb.
Is that a 16-ounce can because it looks big in my hand? No, it's 12-ounce. I'm tiny, man. I'm only like 5'6". Yeah. What do you expect?
It's the same as this. I just have to bring it closer to the camera. There, it's huge.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was my big news of the week.
Well, I guess we don't have much time. We can close out on something funny, at least. There's always that. Mm-hmm. As predicted, Nintendo Switch Sports has led to a bunch of Smash TVs, which is making me laugh.
You really?
Yeah. Because remember,
I didn't see this
story. Remember with Wii Sports, they the Wiimote had the little tassel, the lanyard at the bottom, the wrist strap. You put that on. It stops you from throwing it.
This has...
And it has one. In your
is there a
case
strap?
or whatever. Yeah, it came with it.
Oh, yeah.
I have it somewhere around here. They did come with one. Nobody bothered to put them on. I don't either, because if you're just carrying your Switch around, it's going to be dangling there doing nothing.
Yeah. I completely forgot they exist, but yeah, they
come on the little they're on the thing, right? So, or at least mine came with it on, right? So if you put the thing on, it's already on. There we go, boom. But apparently, just like with the Wiimote, they tell you in the original Nintendo Wii Sports, put on your fucking wrist strap. They don't say it so explicitly, but they're basically telling you over and over again, put on your wrist strap so things don't get broken. And what did they do? What did they do? Nobody put it on, and they ended up throwing at their TV. Of course, nobody broke their TV back then because everybody still had CRT TVs.
You're right.
But they would bounce off, and it hit them in the head because those CRTs are very hard, and things would just bounce right off them, or they would break lamps and other shit in the room. But now everybody's got these flat screen plastic monitors, and if you were to throw a controller at it by accident, people are actually breaking their TVs.
Yeah.
Things, or they're tipping over and falling and stuff, and it's hilarious because this game, much like the original, has the whole put on your wrist strap thing at the beginning, and nobody's fucking listening to it.
Now that I think about it, I'm like, I don't even know where my wrist straps are. Gotta be around here somewhere, but yeah, because I hardly ever. There's very few games where I just use the thing.
Yeah, it's on the Switch or on the dock if you have it.
Yeah, I use
dock.
this thing and I put them on here. But
I used them for Mario Odyssey because that game is actually played best with them separate,
right?
Stuff like that. But those games, you're not like actually flinging the shit around. You're just holding it like this, so you're not gonna. People are playing volleyball and they're going to spike the thing and they end up letting go of the controller, or it gets sweaty and it flies out and it just breaks their fucking TV.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking at my TV. I'm like, yeah, that thing would so break.
Yeah.
It's so flimsy, It's good. It's, 4K and all that. But
backhand.
This would definitely break it.
Kind of makes you miss CRTs. Only slightly. They're a pain in the
those
ass
things.
But
Yeah, the glass was like unbreakable. I mean, unless you threw a rock at it or something.
Like you go outside and get a brick and just hurl that into there. And even then, the brick's probably gonna be just as damaged as the TV.
Although I feel like a lot of people did break their TVs because the fucking Wiimote in the time of the Wii was much bigger.
It was like a Nokia phone with how indestructible those Wiimotes were.
Yeah, it was like a brick. I mean, here, I've got...
You can probably find a picture of the Wiimote lodged into somebody's TV. For the most part, they bounced off, but there were definitely going to be exceptions to that.
Yeah, but man, this thing is like heavy.
Yeah.
I mean, compare the two.
It's like an old school TV remote.
I feel like people did launch this through a CRT.
Probably.
Every once in a while. Compared to this tiny little thing, but yeah.
I think I've seen an image of it too. Let me see if I can find. For the most part, I see it flat screens because that was about the time where people were transitioning from a CRT to a flat screen. We covered that like little transition. Pissed a lot of people off because the Wii, the only way you could go HD, and it did go technically into HD. It went up to 720, but you needed the composite cord for it.
Yeah.
It didn't have HDMI. While all the other consoles that they launched like a year or two after the Wii had HDMI.
But I remember
as well.
Like Wii games would be widescreen at least.
Yeah.
But they were I don't know that they were 720 though. I don't think they were.
I don't know. I know they could go up to maybe it was 6 something.
Maybe
it was like
it
wasn't true HD. It was like that early HQ, I think, when it was high quality is what they were using for a while, right?
It was still widescreen, but if you look at the original,
for it going through.
I was gonna say, if you look at the original Twilight Princess on the Wii, that was definitely not HD.
Well, that game also, unlike a lot of games where they will scale it different for the system, that game is almost identical on both the GameCube and the Wii. They weren't upscaling it just for the Wii.
Yeah.
Yeah. They just flipped it and changed the controls somewhat. No, I'm seeing pictures of it like lodged into the side of TVs. I can't find one of it actually inside the CRT screen. Oh, wait. Is that? No, that's a plastic screen. There was also the stage we were seeing some plastic CRTs at the end of the lifespan, right before we actually got like the true widescreen. Right, so it wasn't actually CRT. It was liquid display is what they were calling it at the time.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Oh my gosh. You want to see video of people doing it? Oh my god.
Let me see. Let's go. It'll be the last thing we do.
We remotes hitting TVs compilation. Yeah, this will be amusing. Here we go. This looks like a guy on QVC or something.
Yeah.
This is the racket fell off the
it
end.
just came right off. Yeah. I never used any of those attachments.
Do you see that one?
Yeah.
He's playing bowling. He's like, wham.
The thing is, I wore the strap to be safe. Just to, you know, that double safety. But at no point did it ever feel like it was going to leave my hand anyway. That didn't stop me from wearing the strap. But, like, I'm surprised that these people, maybe a kid, I can understand a little kid, but these full-grown adults are playing in such a way that their controller is leaving their hand.
Oh. Cracked. Yeah, I know. I imagine it's kids mostly. Oh, Jesus. Oh.
Oh. But at least those controllers were indestructible.
Yeah, yeah. They never seemed to break the controller. Oh, my God. Yes, put your strap on. Wait, that didn't come out right. Put your controller strap on around your wrist.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I want to see more TVs breaking. Oh, jeez.
No, we don't actually, I don't think we use liquid display anymore, right? I think it's all just LEDs.
Yeah, I think so. And the video is terrible. Oh.
Oh. Oh, and you had the bat attachment on it, too.
Oh, this is from a movie.
He had the strap on.
Who? Alan?
Like, I know it was only over his shoulder, but, like, I don't know. That didn't even, like, realistic feel like it slid off, right? It kind of just looked like it clipped through his arm.
Yeah. Now, that one was bad.
I also don't even understand how a rodent his size has the gumption to throw that hard.
Yeah, right.
It would have just followed gravity right off the table.
Hmm.
Come on, Alvin and Chipmunks. You've never shown these chipmunks with super strength. My suspension of disbelief is gone.
Yeah, I don't think so. We'll see what Chippendale does. Maybe there'll be a scene in Chippendale where he throws a Joy-Con through it.
If Monterey Jack shows up and does that, that'll be a little bit more believable. Yeah.
Yeah. Here, I'll stop.
Monterey Jack was always, like, he was never doing superhuman feats, but, like, compared to the chipmunks and stuff, he was always kind of, like, the stronger one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, but they did switch from LCD and plasma was a thing.
Yeah.
To now I think they're all LEDs.
Yeah,
Found a way to make microscopic LEDs. Or however it works.
The earliest form of liquid display was kind of awful. Because if those screens break, you would actually get, like, all of it. It was almost like an ink-like substance that would come out.
Yeah.
I think, what was it? Was it the Game Boy Advance or the DS? One of those actually had a liquid display screen in it. And if it cracked, you could see, like, the goo going everywhere in the screen.
Mm-hmm. I feel like that would probably be the Game Boy Advance.
Yeah, I think the top screen of the DS still used it, too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because I think the top screen of the DS was roughly just a Game Boy Advance screen.
Oh, you could be right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. You'd get the streaks of some sort of liquid.
It was an improved version of the SP because the SP had a front light to its screen, and then the DS had a backlight. It was actually the first thing to have a true backlight to it in the Nintendo handheld.
Oh, by the way, I don't want to get off on a tangent because we're right at the end here.
Yeah,
I
let us
did
go
watch
a little early
a
because we started late.
yeah. I did watch a review of the Playdate, that little yellow thing with the crank on the side.
Yes.
It doesn't have a backlight, and the guy was like, "How in 2022 does it not have a backlight?" He's like, "You can't play it. You can't play it unless you've got perfect lighting." I mean, it's
The car ride
harkening
home,
back-
waiting for the streetlights every.
yeah. It's back to the 1980s with the Game Boy. He's like, "How does this not have a backlight?" It's like, this is ridiculous.
Oh,
Like,
that's what they're going to
God.
get you. They're going to give you a front light attachment with a magnifying glass.
Yeah, just like the Game Boy, they're gonna have
they're
all
gonna
these
sell it to you.
accessories. Oh my God, yeah, that Playdate looks like a disaster. And it was like
yeah.
the crank thing.
I thought it was going to be a disaster.
You know, it got a bad review, that's for sure. But anyway, can't recommend it. I was, I think I've said this before. I was thinking about signing up for the development for it because it comes with a development kit and everything.
Yeah.
But they discriminate. They were like, we're only taking African American developers and stuff like that. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, okay, well, fuck you then. So, I mean, seriously, it was like,
Yeah,
we openly discriminate. So, nope.
Yeah, we'll make our own thing with blackjack and hookers.
That's right.
Yeah.
Damn it. Anyway, that's all I have to say about that.
And that's the show. We made it. Yay. Thank you all for coming. If you enjoy the show, please share it with somebody else you might like. And if you really enjoy the show, we've got our new bar for the month. You can donate to help pay for our monthly hosting fees to streamlab.com/Vomitorium Live. Really helps us out. This is like $25 every month. That's not that much. And you get to hear us shout you out. We'll see you guys in the next episode.
Bye. Mm-hmm.